that beats me, I just decided to let it down. So right here's an interesting spot as well. So he decides to limp and shove this time. Now, last time he did that, he had ace king, and that was just basically a click back bin raise. Now that he's shoving, I decided to let the ace jack go. I think best case scenario there, I'm flipping, and I just feel like I'm up against a better ace and pocket pair all the time there, and I'm just not willing to risk it with a hand like ace jack where I know that I'm just better than this guy as of right now. So right here he donk bets the ace of hearts. I feel like folding here is a little bit too weak, so I decided just to flat and reevaluate the river. And I mean, he's repping ace x here, which he could very easily have, but he could also be doing this with a hand like 7-8 because I mean, he could just think I have an ace and just trying to extract more value by betting the ace and hoping to get re-raised there. Um, but from everything we've seen from this guy, when he bets, it means he has something. It's strength. The one time with Jack 7, he led up on the turn. I mean, the flop and the turn. Um, just a very tough spot there. Once again, I just don't think I'm beating anything with this with the 7-6. My kicker is not good enough. If anything, I'm calling for a split at best there, and I just don't feel like that was a great spot against this kind of player. So right here we flop just a monster flop. He does click back re-raise, and no need to get too crazy here. We're just gonna call and reevaluate the turn, and know that we're ahead of most hands at that point. So when he check backs the turn, definitely betting this flop for value, and he does shove, and that's just an easy call for us. We're not folding that, never. And he ends up doing that with top pair. So once again, our reads of him being, you know, when he's aggressive, he does have a pair. So definitely, our reads are pretty on point the whole entire game, and he's got a good spot and took control. So worked out well. So now to our third and final game. A couple decent spots in this one as well. Right here we have ace 9. I have no notes against this guy at all. Never played him before. I just don't like 3-betting ace 9. Just very tricky spots out of position with a hand like that, even if you're hitting ace. But on such a dry flop here, I decide just to check raise bluff from back. I mean, I feel like he's not hitting this board a lot. And it's early in the game, and he knows nothing about me, so I feel like it's just a very good spot just to rep something there. Ace 9 suited, definitely gonna lead. As I said in the PowerPoint, against a readless opponent, just gonna constantly be playing a lag persona, not to the point where I'm a maniac, but just enough to develop reads against the guy faster than I would if I was playing, like a tag or even a mid style. So right here, he 3-bets us. Not knowing a lot about this guy, we decide just to flat. I think folding there is too tight, too nitty. So I decide just to flat and evaluate on the flop. When he fires to 140 there, there's just nothing I can beat. And I just don't want to get so involved in a hand so early. I'm not even sure if I'm beating most ace-x hands there, so I decided to let it down. Right here, gonna continue opening with hands like Jack 4. Now it's very early in the game, but this guy's already been pretty laggy. I mean, he's 3-bet us a few times. He's 3-bet, C-bet. I mean, I believe he even check raised us once, did he? I don't remember, but he might have. But he's been being very aggressive. And as you see, once again, he 3-bet us. So, right off the bat, I think he's done enough where I can, firmly say that he is pretty laggy. So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten up our pre-flop raising range, and we're going to increase our pre-flop sizing. So right off the bat, we have King Jack, and we decide to make it 50 instead of just the min raise. So we're going about 2.5 here. The reason I'm not going up to a 3x because he still has that high 3-bet range, as of from what we know, and I don't want to just put too much in the pot. If he continues to 3-bet, I might just have to, drop it back down to a min raise, but for now we're going to stick with 2.5. Now, as of right now, he's also been opening a lot, so I know that with better hands, I'm going to open up my 3-betting range. I just think 10-2 is just, it's too bad of a I mean, like, I prefer if my hands were suited, to be honest with you. Like, Jack 4 suited gives me more equity. But at the same time, if you continue just to hammer away, I'm going to have to opening up my 3-bet bluffing range as well. So right here, we decide to, just float a flop with pocket 3, just because he's been c-betting 100% of the time. And when he fires off the barrel there, just really not much I could do. I'm just going to lay down the 3s. Just a very difficult spot. So once again, as we talked about before, ace 8, definitely worth raising, 2.5. So as much as I like to 3-bet with a good hand on my first 3-bet, I decided it's just, I'm tired of waiting around. I'm going to see if he's calling or folding most of these hands when I play back at him. And he does flat, and this is just not a great board, but we have, no showdown value, and the only way we're winning this pot is if we get him to fold, pretty much. So we decided to fire a pretty decent sized c-bet. And he ends up clicking back on us, and I mean, the min raise is just so strong. It really is. And I am just going to have to lay that down, unfortunately. So as you see, this guy's being super aggressive. I feel like this versus this kind of opponent, it would be very easy to set up and just make him trap himself, basically. But in order to do that, you need hands. So far, we're just running pretty cold. So we're just going to have to work with what we have. So right here, we flop, a pretty good flush draw on a pretty dry board. So we're going to c-bet this for value at this point. And he decides to lay it down, which is, I mean, hey, I'm not unhappy about that. I had a flush draw and he folded, so it's great for us. Right here, we pick up a monster, and when I saw this, I was like, finally, here we go. And he just happens to just, stall a little bit and let his hand go, which is just so unfortunate since he's been opening 86% of his hands and c-betting 100% of his hands. So the one time I get a monster, he folds, which is just my luck. Right here, we want to implement a little bit of a limping range with a hand like King 7. But he does, punish our limp, so we might not be able to get away with that. Something we can think about doing, though, is, limping with strength and playing from there if he's going to continue to punish our limps. So right here, he checks back a low flop, and with a pair of 3s and a king kicker, I wanted to lead out here. I mean, he's been c-betting all of his flops, so him not c-betting can sometimes be a sign of strength and also obviously very weak. When he does click back here, I just feel like it was his first time not c-betting, and I'm going to take that as a sign of strength. So the next time he doesn't c-bet, I'm definitely gonna think that as being a stronger play than a weaker play. Right now, just not getting too out of control, just staying calm. The hands are not really finding us, but at the same time, it's still early, and we will find our spots. I mean, you're not gonna win every game, but you can play at your best every game, and hopefully it just turns out into a win instead of a loss. So right here, once again, we're gonna try to flat the king two. Um, definitely kind of hands out. Do like the flat against somebody who's three betting a lot and check raising a lot. So we hit top pair and decide to lead out when he checks back. I don't have a lot of ace-6 in his range or even king-x in his range just because he punished us last time and I feel like he'd punish us with another ace-x or king-x. Not to mention we're holding a king-2, so there's only 2 other kings in the deck. It makes it very unlikely. Jack not an ideal card. Queen 10 gets there, but at the same time I almost feel like he would punish us with queen 10 as well. Definitely not going to stop us from, value betting this turn. I feel like checking there is a bit too nitty. So he decides to, flat us again. And, somebody who was aggressive as this guy, I feel like he would be re-raising or check raising our his flush draws because he's just overall an aggressive player. So when the 7 hits on the river, I'm not really that worried about the flush draw, to be honest with you. But I do decide just to check back. Just because I'm dying to know what he has, and I just feel like betting there is very thin. So he ended up showing us queen 7, so definitely notable that he floated a limped flop with queen high and then called a gut shot straight draw on the turn. With actually a flush draw too on the turn, 7. So a hand that we missed before was pocket 8s, obviously 3 betting and he folded, which is good because now we know that he can fold 2 or 3 bets. Which makes me feel a little bit better because I was starting to think that he wasn't folding to anything he was doing pre-flop. Right here, Jack 10. It's one of those things where I'm definitely going to be opening up my 3 betting range because the way he's opening so much, and Jack 10 is just one of those hands that plays very well post-flop. And it's going to be ahead of a lot of stuff he's raising with. So he folds, which is awesome. But those are the kind of hands I was talking about before when opening up your 3 betting value range. Those are the kind of type of hands, Queen Jack, Jack 10, Jack 9 suited. Those are value hands that you want to be opening up with. Not just King Queen, King Jack suited, Ace King, Ace Queen. Not just those hands, but the average ones too. Definitely for somebody who's opening up 83% of the time. And C betting 80% of the time. Very aggressive player. 7-3 based just on game flow. We've 3 bet like the past 2 out of 4 hands, so I don't want to go bluffing it off with a 7-3 as well. Here we decided to check back a pretty low flop. And when the ace hits here, a lot of players are going to bet this ace because it just hits them and they feel like they can get the fold, but I decided I was going to check it back to look even weaker, and when he bets out the river there, I decided to check raise and get a call with, he had a king there. So by me checking the turn with that ace made me look very, very weak, and I think right off the bat he was like, he doesn't have an ace because he would bet the ace. So when I re-raised the river, he just didn't put me on an ace, so I definitely got some extra cash by checking that turn, which worked well. Right here, he opens shoves with Queen Jack. Now, a good hand, but not good enough to call that with. He might be getting a little off stride here, a little tilty maybe. But I don't want to make any rash decisions right now. Right here, we get top pair and definitely betting that for value. Once again, going back to what I said before, I think he's check raising his flush draws. I think he's just a very aggressive player. So when the club hits, I mean, I'm a little bit worried about it, but I'm not convinced that he has a flush at that point. So I'm going to continue to bet my hand for value with 3 aces. I think just checking there is so nitty. Not only that, I do give him a free card if he does have, let's say, 3, queen with a queen of clubs or something. So right here, once again, I decided to try to slow play maybe a hand like King Jack. He's been folding to a lot of our 3 bets, and I didn't want him to fold to this hand because it's so strong post flop. a little tricky and a little dangerous at the same time. I found myself in a very difficult spot in this hand, but still quite interesting spot. So right here, I could have easily turned, um, just because I didn't want to face a turn bet versus him. He ends up checking the turn back as well, which gave me a free card. And when he bets the river here, it just doesn't make sense because I don't think he's betting an ace that much. I think he's value betting an ace, and when he bets so big, I just feel like he's bluffing. And I think that a lot more times than not, you're gonna see him with not even a king there. So we end up splitting, but I think more times than not, he's not even holding a king there. He's holding like Jack 10 or something like that. It's because he overbet it so badly. If he was holding like an ace X, I feel like he would be betting like 120, 150, something like that. So right here, some people might think that the queen is a great barrel card. With my 5-4, yeah, I still have some equity with the straight draw, but I'm not gonna barrel that card. And then if I hit on the river and it's my straight card, I could very easily just still be behind and get it all in behind against the flush. So I took a more passive approach to that and decided just to like check it down and end up checking fold in the river, which I think is just perfect. I think it's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to trap myself. So right there, that was one of his first few 3x opens. And with a hand like King 9 that does do decent post flop, I just feel like when he does that, he's just super strong, and I'm not trying to fall into one of his traps because he's not really been 3xing at all. So I decided just to let that go out of position. So right here we limp Jack 6, which is fine. When we hit the 6 on the turn, I decided to bet for value. I mean, when he takes back that turn, it's pretty weak. Line's going up. So right here, Jack 4. We do know he's fallen to a lot of 3 bets, and we're going to keep it in the back of our heads, but Jack 4 is just... I mean, I just don't feel like it was the right spot, just based on game flow, and I'm a gut player too, not just a thinking player. So I do a lot sometimes based on just gut feelings, just knowing when the right spots are and when they're not there. So we're at King 8 and we open up, which is fine. He ends up folding, which is always nice. So we have Queen 6 here, and we're gonna definitely 3-bet this one here. I mean, he's been still opening a lot of his hands, and Queen 6 plays a little bit better than a hand like Jack 4 or Jack 2. I mean, I could very easily be ahead on this hand, so I decided just to 3-bet it, and he does let it go, which is continuing the trend of him actually folding to 3-bets, unlike the 3-5 that we did earlier in the game. So once again, we decided to limp King 2. He's been letting us limp quite a bit, and unfortunately, we don't get to that time. Now, most of our 3-bets have been pretty much bluffs to a pretty good extent. I think maybe 1 or 2 hands was a decent hand that we 3-bet with, like Jack 10. Once again, 5-2 just not gonna help us there. Pocket 5s is just, it's easy open shove. 11 big blinds. Yeah. Oh, that's Nash. That's shove. That's easy here. So right here we have King Queen, which is a great hand, and we've been 3-bet bluffing quite a bit, and I think he's starting to realize that. So when he shoves here, which he does, I'm forced. I mean, I'm already pot committed to a certain extent, and King Queen is just so strong post flop. and we end up catching him with queen six, which is just a great spot for us because I think he just got fed up, and I mean he was kind of thinking to the point where he knew that we were just doing it too much, so he had the right idea. He just picked a bad spot. So kudos to him for kind of picking up on what we were doing to an extent, but at the same time, just bad timing on his part. And king nine here is an easy shove with 5 big blinds. We hit our king, we hit our 9, I'm sorry, and we take it down. So once again, we win that hand, and that's that.